I had always loved the solitude of flying, the hum of the engine, the vast expanse of sky, and the sense of freedom it brought were unlike anything else. It was supposed to be a routine flight, just a quick trip over the Rockies to clear my head. I had done it countless times before, but this time, something felt different. The plane was my sanctuary, a single-engine Cessna 172. I had flown her for years and knew every creak and groan. But today, as I climbed to cruising altitude, I couldn't shake the feeling of unease. The weather forecast had been clear, but as I ascended, I noticed dark clouds gathering on the horizon. I checked my instruments. Everything seemed normal. I shrugged off the feeling and pressed on, focusing on the beauty of the snowy peaks below. The world was a serene blanket of white, untouched and pure. But the peace was short-lived. Out of nowhere, the plane shuddered violently. I grabbed the yoke, trying to steady her, but she lurched again. The engine sputtered, and my heart raced. I checked the gauges. The oil pressure was dropping rapidly. My mind raced through the emergency procedures, but my hands felt disconnected from my body. Mayday, mayday, mayday. I called into the radio, but there was no response. Static filled my ears. I was alone, truly alone. The engine gave one last cough and died. Silence. The plane began to descend, the nose dipping toward the mountains. I fought the controls, trying to level out, but it was no use. I was going down. I scanned the landscape for a place to land, but all I saw were jagged peaks and steep slopes. Panic surged through me, but I forced myself to breathe, to focus. There, in the distance, I saw a flat expanse of snow. It wasn't ideal, but it was my best shot. I aimed for it, gliding as best I could. The ground rushed up to meet me, faster and faster. I braced for impact. The plane hit the snow with a bone-jarring thud. Metal screeched and twisted, and I was thrown forward, the seatbelt digging into my chest. The world spun, and then everything went dark. When I came to, the world was a blur of white and pain. I blinked, trying to clear my vision. The plane was a crumpled mess around me. The cockpit distorted beyond recognition. Miraculously, I was alive. I unbuckled my seatbelt and crawled out, every movement sending waves of agony through my body. The cold hit me like a wall. I hadn't realized how frigid it would be. I grabbed what I could from the wreckage, my emergency kit, a few flares, a thermal blanket, and stumbled away from the plane. I needed to find shelter before the cold claimed me. I trudged through the snow, the wind howling around me. My breath came in ragged gasps, each step an effort. I had no idea where I was or how far I could go. The landscape was an endless expanse of white, disorienting and unforgiving. After what felt like hours, I found a small cave nestled in the side of a mountain. It was shallow but offered some protection from the wind. I crawled inside, wrapping myself in the thermal blanket. My body trembled uncontrollably. I had to stay awake, to keep moving, but exhaustion was pulling me under. I don't know how long I drifted in and out of consciousness. Time lost all meaning. My body ached. My mind was numb, and the cold was relentless. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the crash, heard the screech of metal, felt the crushing impact. Then, one night, I heard it. A distant sound, almost imperceptible over the wind. It was rhythmic, like footsteps crunching in the snow. My heart leapt. Rescue? I forced myself to sit up, straining to listen. The sound grew closer, but something about it was wrong. It was too deliberate, too measured. My instincts screamed at me to hide, but there was nowhere to go. I gripped the flare gun, my only weapon, and waited. A figure emerged from the darkness, tall and cloaked in shadow. I could make out no features, only the outline of a person. They moved with an unnatural grace, almost gliding over the snow. My breath caught in my throat. "Hello?" I croaked, my voice barely more than a whisper. The figure stopped, tilting its head as if studying me. I raised the flare gun, my hand shaking. "Who are you?" Silence. Then, in a voice that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere, it spoke. "You are not supposed to be here." A chill ran down my spine, colder than the wind. "What do you mean?" The figure moved closer, and I could see its eyes now, glowing a pale blue in the darkness. "This place is not for the living." Panic surged through me. "What are you talking about?" I crashed. "I'm stranded. I need help." The figure shook its head slowly. "You are not alive." The words hit me like a physical blow. "No, that's impossible. I'm here. I'm alive." The figure reached out, a skeletal hand emerging from the cloak. "You are between worlds, caught in the moment of your death." I staggered back, my mind reeling. No, that can't be true." The figure's eyes bore into mine. "You must accept it. Only then can you move on." I felt the world spinning around me, the cave dissolving into darkness. The crash, the silence, the cold. It all made sense now. I was not meant to survive. I was a ghost, trapped in the final moments of my life. As the realization washed over me, the figure stepped closer, its hand touching my forehead. The cold vanished, replaced by a warmth that spread through my body. The pain, the fear, all faded away. I closed my eyes and let go. When I opened them again, I was standing on a snowy peak, looking down at the wreckage of my plane far below. The figure was gone, and I felt a sense of peace I had never known. I was free. I turned away from the wreckage and walked into the light, leaving the mountains and the crash behind. The silence of the snowy landscape gave way to a gentle hum, like the engine of my plane, and I smiled. I was flying once more, but this time, it was into the unknown.